This episode of The Casual is brought to you in part by Squarespace. For all your website needs, Squarespace delivers it in an all-around package to help you build a beautiful, integrated online presence. Streetwear is probably one of the most successful genres of fashion the world has ever witnessed. It's near recession-proof, and it can encompass a ton of different varieties and styles. For that reason alone, it can never die. But that may not be the best thing considering where we are now. What's up, everybody? I'm Reggie Casual, if you didn't know that already, and welcome to Rise and Fall, where we discuss, debate, and elaborate on the successes and pitfalls of the entire fashion industry. Today, we're talking streetwear and how it can never die, but ellipses is right there. It just means we're gonna talk about more. At least that's the title. But of course, before we get into that, intro, please. All right, so to be fair, this is more of an opinion piece than one filled with a whole bunch of jargon and statistics. I mean, there will be some facts in there to strengthen the case, but once in a while, we gotta look at the trajectory and make our own judgments, or at least I have to make my own judgments. So, the proclamation, streetwear will never die, will certainly raise the fist of some of the most ardent fans out there, but I have to stop short of that and say that the streetwear that you used to know is long gone. That streetwear is gone. Shall we examine? When Stussy, the guy, proclaimed his eponymous label was streetwear, nobody really knew what the hell he meant. Was it anti-fashion, populist fashion, or parody? Truth is, it's all of those things, but it was virtually tied to skate culture. And while a great many out there will contest this, there is no mistaking that streetwear was and still is from the world of skate and surf to a degree. And being tied to skate means being tied to punk, if you look at the history. And while punk's not dead, that phrase is certainly cringe-inducing, or so I've been told and rightfully lambasted for invoking in the past. Street, for all its history, streetwear that is punk-inspired. Its origins in anti-conformity. Some will argue that hip-hop has been streetwear's greatest influence, but that's a half-truth. Hip-hop had its own genre of fashion that wasn't necessarily streetwear that we knew back then. And while pioneers like Walkerwear, started by April Walker in 1990s Brooklyn, may be some of the first successful street urban brands, even that label positions itself as a heritage lifestyle brand. There's no street to be found, such is the case with past greats like Fubu, Sean John, Rockwear, and Woowear. Nobody referenced these as streetwear labels, and rarely did they occupy the same space as labels like Thrasher and Stussy. That never happened. When the great merger of streetwear, that is, and urban wear happened in the late 2000s, encapsulated in a creator donning a Supreme camper, the stage was literally set for any and everything that wasn't formally a part of the contemporary fashion sphere and came from populous urban communities or even poor suburban ones, was dubbed streetwear. Soon everything was streetwear because it was supposedly too difficult to understand that urban brands or hip hop brands and punk inspired brands were two different things. But once streetwear became part of the general lexicon, a bevy of lazy attempts ensued. Soon everything came under the banner of streetwear. Haphazard labels with ill-fated graphic tee designs, they were streetwear. And a bigger onus was placed on profit and fame rather than lifestyle. Truth be told, if streetwear was birthed in punk culture, it certainly was raised by hip hop. And hip hop, being the biggest genre of music in the world, and the most profitable, mind you, has a history of excess. And that excess has led to hype and overindulgence. For if punk laid the foundations, then hip hop with its mainstream appeal built a whole ass mansion on top of it. But before we get into all the minutia of that, let's get in a word from our sponsor, Squarespace. A big part of this fashion industry is presentation. That's why Squarespace offers up professional, clean, and easily customized website themes that will have you presentation ready from jump. So no matter if you're running an up-and-coming label or just want to sell some novelty merchandise, Squarespace's e-commerce options, social media integrations, and robust analytics and data-driven backend make selling, promoting, and managing your website incredibly easy. All that, and you can save 10% when using our code squarespace.com/thecasual when you sign up. So why are you hesitating? Get started and make that website using Squarespace today. As hip-hop's grip on streetwear became apparent, more acts, that is, entertainers, became increasingly tied to fashion, and with the inevitable future connecting us more than ever before, that with social media, streetwear ultimately became the de facto style of this generation. We all know legacy labels like Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Balenciaga, Dior, and upstarts all invoke the language of street. For that very cosign is the reason it won't die. Streetwear is virtually immortal because anything can be streetwear, at least to the most ardent and stressed out fans. This, interestingly enough, creates incredible arguments and debates on what brands are streetwear and which ones aren't. Like I, for one, will say something like Undercover isn't a streetwear brand, which it isn't. And someone else will say something like, well, streetwear isn't about the brands. It could be anything. So if I think Undercover is streetwear by the way that I style it, then it's streetwear. A plausible argument for streetwear to be sure, but flawed because it virtually eliminates exactly what streetwear is and puts everything in the hands of the individual, which I would admit is the point, yes, but only because of street's punk origins. The problem is we now identify punk in its own categories. It's effectively so far from streetwear that it's almost laughable to put them in the same category. But because this opinion is ingrained in the culture of streetwear, it can never die as long as people believe it will forever exist no matter what form it takes. Which kind of presents a problem. Streetwear was intended to be accessible for those that partook in the cultures any one brand represented. One small look at Instagram today, and you can tell that isn't the case. For instance, Stussy was a bit of cool parody. Thrasher was counterculture. Supreme was about togetherness and this lifestyle of skate. Fresh Jive was playful. Even Palace today is all about taking skate and making it your entire identity and being uncompromising despite your age. Noah, it's like skate when you grow up. Problem is, streetwear is becoming increasingly inaccessible. At least streetwear brands and the like are the ones that people wanna buy, which has polluted its identity. Hype has taken it over to the point where past fans look at it in disgust, and those same individuals are more at home in vintage shops and thrifts, only for that segment to be bombarded by opportunists as well, so you can't win. So while streetwear may never die because of its flexibility, it's because of that flexibility it's becoming more and more like the fashion industry it was supposed to mock. The good thing is that newer labels are trying to take the culture back, but it's an uphill struggle as the hands of power and influence are solely in the selected few brands and individuals, with increasing masses unwilling to deviate from what they've been told is the appropriate way to style themselves or the appropriate brands to get involved in this thing called street. It's actually sad because the anti-conformity that streetwear once championed is no longer a factor. In fact, streetwear is conformity, which is odd to say the least. And that's the take. At least that's my take, right? So the views expressed here are not from all the casual, just Reggie's take. But I just wanna set the stage. I wanna see where this discussion heads. Do you think streetwear will never die? Do you think its current form is a far cry from what it used to be? Do you disagree with what was stated here? Let it all be known in the comments. I wanna know. Everybody wants to know. It's a good discussion to be had. And if you want more information, want to talk about this in a business sense, how this applies to you, starting a brand or whatever, what have you, want to join a Discord full of people who are talking about these things in a very mature way, then you can join us on Patreon, patreon.com/TheCasual. And you can join our private Discord. I messed that all up. But most importantly, keep it locked right here for all of your info on international fashion, culture, and business. From Tokyo, it's your boy, and keep it casual. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. And I'll see you guys in a minute.